Today, there is no shame in being gay, but back in the 1960s and 70s, it wasn't just considered taboo, it was outright banned in many places. Despite being gay, many actors kept their true identities hidden from the public. Some managed to maintain their privacy and careers while others struggled under the constant scrutiny of the media. However, a few never accepted or revealed their real identity, even later in life or until their death. So here is the list of another 30 actors who either remained secret or managed to remain secret for most of their lives. Gene Kelly. Gene Kelly, the iconic dancer, singer, and actor known for his roles in Singin' in the Rain and in American in Paris, was the epitome of the all-American male star. While Kelly was married multiple times to women, there have been persistent rumors about his sexuality, particularly about relationships with men that he kept private. Kelly, known for his perfectionism and work ethic, maintained a fiercely private personal life, never addressing these rumors publicly. While many in Hollywood were aware of his close relationships with certain male colleagues, Kelly's public image remained strictly heterosexual until his death. Alec Macaulay. Alec Macaulay, the celebrated British stage and screen actor, best known for his work in Travels with My Aunt and his performances in Shakespearean roles, lived a discreet life. Although it was known in the theater community that Macaulay was gay, he never discussed his sexuality publicly, nor did he make it a part of his public persona. Macaulay, who passed away in 2017, was a respected figure in British theater, and like many of his peers, chose to keep his personal life private, especially during an era when being openly gay could harm one's career. Ben Piazza, known for his supporting roles in films such as The Blues Brothers and The Bad News Bears, was a private man regarding his sexuality. Although Piazza never officially came out, it was known among Hollywood circles that he was gay. He had a long-term relationship with Wayne Tripp, which remained out of the public eye. Piazza's career was steady but unremarkable, perhaps affected by the societal pressures and the lack of opportunity for openly gay actors at the time. He died in 1991 from complications related to AIDS. Charles Nelson Reilly, known for his flamboyant persona on shows like The Match Game and his character work on television, lived his life as an openly gay man among friends and colleagues, though he never discussed it on screen. Reilly's campy, larger-than-life personality was a staple of television in the 70s and 80s, but he maintained a private life away from the cameras. He did not come out publicly until later in life, when he discussed his sexuality in his one-man show, Save It for the Stage, The Life of Reilly. He passed away in 2007, leaving behind a legacy as a beloved entertainer who subtly pushed boundaries. Dennis Price. Dennis Price, best known for his role in Kind Hearts and Coronets, was a well-regarded British actor who struggled with his sexuality throughout his life. Price, who never publicly came out as gay, battled alcoholism and financial problems, which were exacerbated by the difficulties he faced in concealing his true self in a conservative society. His career started strong but faded due to these personal issues. Price passed away in 1973 at the age of 58, with many believing his hidden struggles contributed to his untimely death. Graham Chapman. Graham Chapman, one of the founding members of Monty Python, lived much of his life privately gay, despite being in the public eye as a comic genius. Chapman officially came out as gay in the 1970s, making him one of the first major British entertainers to do so. He lived openly with his partner, David Sherlock, from 1966 until his death. Chapman's decision to live openly as a gay man was groundbreaking at the time, especially given his popularity. He died in 1989 from complications related to throat cancer, leaving behind a legacy of humor and bravery. Harris Glenn Milstead, Divine. Harris Glenn Milstead, better known as Divine, became a drag icon and cult film star thanks to his collaborations with director John Waters in films like Pink Flamingos and Hairspray. While Divine's outrageous persona was loved by fans, Milstead's personal life was far more discreet. Divine was openly gay among friends, but struggled with his weight and self-image, which were closely tied to his identity in the public eye. Despite his larger-than-life persona, Milstead kept much of his personal life, including his relationships, private. He passed away in 1988 from an enlarged heart, but his influence on both drag culture and LGBTQ+ visibility endures. John Dahl. John Dahl, best known for his roles in Rope and Gun Crazy, kept his sexuality a secret throughout his career. Dahl's romantic relationships with men were known to those close to him, but he chose not to address them publicly in a time when being openly gay could end a career. His sexuality was one of the factors that may have limited his success in Hollywood, despite his considerable talent. Dahl passed away from a heart attack in 1971 at the age of 50, leaving behind a body of work that showcased his unique style, but a career that never quite reached its full potential. John Inman. John Inman, best known for his role as the flamboyant Mr. Humphreys in the British sitcom Are You Being Served?, played a camp character who became an LGBTQ+ icon. Though his portrayal was often viewed as stereotypical, it brought visibility to effeminate gay men at a time when representation was scarce. Inman never publicly confirmed his sexuality during the height of his fame, but later came out as gay in his personal life. He lived quietly with his partner, Ron Lynch, and they eventually entered into a civil partnership before Inman's death in 2007. His character remains a beloved part of British TV history. Jonathan Frid. Jonathan Frid, famous for his role as Barnabas Collins on Dark Shadows, never publicly discussed his sexuality during his lifetime. Frid, who was known to have had relationships with men, preferred to keep his personal life entirely separate from his career. His portrayal of the iconic vampire helped solidify Dark Shadows as a cult classic, but his sexuality remained a well-kept secret until after his death in 2012. Frid's decision to live quietly in terms of his personal life was typical of many actors of his generation, especially those working in a public-facing career like television. Maurice Evans. Maurice Evans, the celebrated British actor known for his Shakespearean roles and appearances in films like Planet of the Apes, lived a life of quiet discretion regarding his personal relationships. Although never publicly out, it was known in theater circles that Evans was gay. His choice to keep his private life hidden was reflective of the era in which he worked, where being openly gay could have harmed his distinguished career. Evans passed away in 1989, remembered for his contributions to both British and American theater. Michael Jeter. Michael Jeter, the Emmy-winning actor known for roles in Evening Shade and The Green Mile, was openly gay later in his life, but kept his personal relationships quiet for much of his career. Jeter's struggles with HIV and his candidness about living with the disease in his later years made him a significant figure in the LGBTQ+ community. Jeter was a talented character actor who often brought warmth and complexity to his roles. He passed away in 2003 from complications related to an epileptic seizure, leaving behind a legacy of openness about his struggles as a gay man in Hollywood. Richard Deacon. Richard Deacon, best known as Mel Cooley on The Dick Van Dyke Show, lived as a closeted gay man for most of his career. Although he never publicly acknowledged his sexuality, Deacon's orientation was known within Hollywood circles. He remained unmarried and lived a quiet personal life, careful to avoid the scandal or public attention that could come with being openly gay at the time. Deacon passed away in 1984, leaving behind a career in television comedy that was largely free of controversy, but marked by the personal sacrifices he made to maintain his privacy. Sir Michael Redgrave. Sir Michael Redgrave, the distinguished British actor and father to a family of actors, lived much of his life as a closeted bisexual. Though married to actress Rachel Kempson, Redgrave had relationships with both men and women. His bisexuality was an open secret in British theater, but Redgrave never publicly came out, choosing instead to maintain a traditional family image. His children, including Vanessa and Corin Redgrave, later acknowledged their father's struggles with his identity, and his complex personal life was revealed in biographies published after his death in 1985. Tommy Kirk. Tommy Kirk, one of Disney's leading child stars in films like Old Yeller and The Shaggy Dog, was quietly let go from the studio when it was discovered that he was gay. Kirk's career was on the rise when his sexuality came to light in the early 1960s, and Disney, fearful of the backlash, ended his contract. Kirk struggled to find work after that and eventually left Hollywood altogether, but he later spoke openly about the difficulties of being a gay man in a conservative industry. He passed away in 2021, remembered more for his groundbreaking roles in family films than for the struggles he faced as a closeted star. Jim Nabors. Jim Nabors, the lovable Gomer Pyle from The Andy Griffith Show, spent most of his career keeping his sexuality under wraps. Though he was widely rumored to be gay, Nabors remained tight-lipped about his personal life during his Hollywood years, fearful that revealing his truth could destroy his career. The persistent rumor of a non-existent marriage between Nabors and actor Rock Hudson added fuel to speculation, but both actors denied it. It wasn't until later in life, in 2013, that Nabors finally came out publicly when he married his longtime partner, Stan Cadwallader, after same-sex marriage became legal. Nabors' relationship had been a well-kept secret for nearly 4 decades. By the time he came out, Nabors was retired and far from the public eye, able to live openly without the fear of professional repercussions. Tab Hunter. Tab Hunter, the heartthrob of the 1950s, was the epitome of the all-American boy, adored by legions of female fans. Behind the scenes, however, Hunter was hiding a secret. He was gay. During his career, his studio carefully manufactured a heterosexual image for him, arranging fake dates with female stars and keeping him from being linked to any scandals. Hunter was in a long-term relationship with fellow actor Anthony Perkins, though their romance was kept secret due to fears that being openly gay would destroy their careers. It wasn't until the release of his 2005 autobiography, Tab Hunter Confidential, that Hunter publicly acknowledged his sexuality, finally sharing his truth with the world. By then, Hunter was long retired from the pressures of Hollywood, free to tell his story on his own terms. Anthony Perkins. Anthony Perkins, known for his chilling performance as Norman Bates in Psycho, spent his life balancing his career and his private relationships with men. Though Perkins married photographer Barry Berenson and had 2 children, he struggled with his sexuality throughout his life. His relationship with Tab Hunter, another closeted star, was kept out of the public eye to avoid ruining his reputation. Perkins was cautious about maintaining his public persona, and it wasn't until after his death from AIDS-related complications in 1992 that the public fully learned about his hidden life. His battle with accepting his identity reflected the immense pressure placed on Hollywood stars of his time to conform to heterosexual norms. Robert Reed. As the lovable patriarch Mike Brady on The Brady Bunch, Robert Reed played one of the most iconic TV dads of all time, all while privately hiding his homosexuality. Reed was known to have relationships with men, but he kept this part of his life secret, even from his co-stars, fearing the stigma attached to being gay in Hollywood during the 1960s and 70s. His sexuality was revealed only after his death in 1992, when it became known that Reed had died of AIDS-related complications. Close friends and colleagues were aware of his struggles, but Reed chose to keep his private life under wraps, continuing the facade of a straight family man throughout his career. Richard Chamberlain. Richard Chamberlain, a leading man in Dr. Kildare and The Thornbirds, was the object of many women's affections, though he spent decades hiding his true self. Chamberlain's fear that coming out as gay would damage his career led him to live a closeted life during his years in the spotlight. He entered into secret relationships with men, including a long-term partner, while maintaining a public image as a heterosexual heartthrob. It wasn't until 2003 in his autobiography, Shattered Love, that Chamberlain finally came out, expressing regret about not being open earlier, but acknowledging the pressure he faced during Hollywood's golden age. George Takei. George Takei, best known as Sulu on Star Trek, kept his sexuality hidden during much of his acting career. Growing up in a conservative, traditional Japanese-American household, Takei faced cultural and societal pressures to keep his identity private. He lived in fear that his sexuality would destroy his chances in Hollywood, especially as a man of color in the industry. Takei didn't come out publicly until 2005, when he felt more secure in his career and personal life. Since then, he has become a vocal advocate for LGBTQ+ rights and has openly embraced his identity, marrying his long-term partner, Brad Altman, in 2008. Take's decision to keep his sexuality hidden for so long speaks to the challenges of being a gay actor in Hollywood, particularly in an era that was less accepting of both race and sexual orientation. Sherman Hemsley. Sherman Hemsley, who portrayed the boisterous George Jefferson on The Jeffersons, lived a much quieter personal life. Hemsley was widely rumored to be gay, but he never publicly confirmed his sexuality during his lifetime. He remained extremely private, never marrying and rarely discussing his personal life in interviews. It wasn't until after his death in 2012 that details of his private life, including his long-term relationship with a male partner, emerged. Despite the comedic and larger-than-life characters he portrayed on screen, Hemsley chose to keep his true identity hidden, a reflection of the societal pressures faced by black actors in particular. Victor Buono. Victor Buono, a character actor famous for playing villains, including his role in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, lived his life quietly off-screen. Buono never married and kept his personal relationships discreet, though it was widely believed that he was gay. In interviews, Buono humorously alluded to his single status, saying he had never found the right woman, but preferred to keep details of his romantic life private. His flamboyant characters on screen contrasted sharply with his reserved personal life. Buono's quiet discretion about his sexuality reflected the norm for many actors of his time, who feared that coming out would destroy their careers. Sal Mano. Sal Mano, who shot to fame with his role in Rebel Without a Cause, faced the harsh reality of being gay in Hollywood. Despite his early success, his career stalled in the 1960s as rumors about his sexuality began to circulate. Mano, who had relationships with men, never publicly came out, but it was an open secret in Hollywood. He struggled to find work in an industry that was reluctant to embrace openly gay actors. Just as he was starting to make a career comeback, Mano was tragically murdered in 1976. His hidden life and untimely death left many wondering what could have been had he been able to live openly. Paul Winfield. Paul Winfield, the Oscar-nominated star of Sounder and The Terminator, kept his personal life hidden for most of his career. Though he was in a long-term relationship with his partner Charles Gillen Jr. for over 30 years, Winfield never publicly acknowledged his sexuality. It wasn't until his death in 2004 that the depth of his relationship with Gillen became widely known. Winfield's choice to keep his sexuality hidden reflected the difficulties many black actors faced in an industry that was often doubly harsh on those who were both gay and a minority. Dak Rambo. Dak Rambo, a TV star known for his roles on Dallas and Another World, kept his sexuality a secret until he was diagnosed with HIV in 1991. Rambo's diagnosis prompted him to publicly come out as gay and become an advocate for HIV/AIDS awareness. His decision to come out was brave, given the era and his status in Hollywood, but it came after years of hiding his true self. Rambo passed away in 1994, but his openness in his final years helped to shed light on the struggles faced by gay men during the AIDS crisis. Howard E. Rollins Jr., known for his roles in the Heat of the Night and A Soldier's Story, was another actor who struggled with keeping his sexuality hidden. Rollins, who had relationships with men, never publicly came out and dealt with substance abuse issues that were believed to be tied to his internal struggles. His personal turmoil led to legal issues and a decline in his career. Rollins passed away in 1996 from complications related to lymphoma, leaving behind a legacy of talent overshadowed by his hidden struggles. Leslie Jordan. Leslie Jordan, beloved for his comedic roles in Will and Grace and The Cool Kids, never publicly discussed his sexuality early in his career. Though he was openly gay in his private life, it wasn't until later in his career, when society had become more accepting, that Jordan began to speak openly about his sexuality. His flamboyant on-screen persona won him legions of fans, and Jordan became a beloved figure in the LGBTQ+ community. His journey from hiding his identity to fully embracing it reflects the changing times in Hollywood. John Barrowman. John Barrowman, famous for playing Captain Jack Harkness in Doctor Who and Torchwood, lived as a closeted gay man during his early career. Fearing that being openly gay would affect his chances in the industry, Barrowman hid his relationships. However, as his career progressed, Barrowman decided to come out publicly in the early 2000s. Since then, he has become an outspoken advocate for LGBTQ+ rights and proudly lives with his husband, Scott Gill. Barrowman's transformation from hiding to embracing his identity is a testament to his confidence in the evolution of Hollywood's acceptance. J. Davidson. J. Davidson, best known for his Oscar-nominated role in The Crying Game, was intensely private about his personal life. Davidson's brief time in the spotlight was marked by intense media attention, much of which centered on his gender presentation and sexuality. Though Davidson was openly gay among his friends and colleagues, he kept his private life largely hidden from the